Here we go. Let's talk about Oilers versus Blackhawks playoff series preview. Now, before we get started, I just want to ask you, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be about Islanders versus Panthers. Now, I've already shot 3 videos. This is my 4th one in this series, and I'll put a link up top over the last few that I've done so you can click on them at your leisure, or you can just as easily find them in my playlist. Now, let's talk playoffs. One would think Edmonton's got the advantage here, right? Well, it's complicated. These teams faced each other 4 times during the regular season, and Edmonton only won one of those games. So there's that. Now, of course, Robin Lehner isn't with the team anymore, but Calvin DeHaan coming back from shoulder injury, he's got one of the best plus-minuses on the team, could be a plus. And, hey, Crawford's got good numbers this year. More on that in a second. Now, Edmonton was seeded 5th coming into these playoffs. They finished 2nd in the Pacific, had 83 points. Then there's Chicago, who finished 7th in the Central / last, and they were seeded 12th with 72 points. I believe the second last team with points to enter the playoffs, only ahead of Montreal out east, of course. Now, let's talk some team stats here, starting with the specialty teams. I keep on saying specialty teams. Special teams. Bruh. I'm going to punch my tongue. Power play. The Oilers are first. If you didn't know that, just keep drinking. Chicago is 28th in the league. Penalty kill. Edmonton's 2nd. Now, I don't blame you for maybe not knowing. Maybe I don't blame you just a little bit for not knowing that one, because that was surprising. That's a Dave Tippett effect right there. Chicago is quite respectable in this category. They're 9th. Now, both these teams don't really take too many penalties, so you add that with the playoffs and refs putting away the whistles. Does that take away Edmonton's advantage? We'll see. Goals for during the regular season, Edmonton is 12th in the league. Chicago's 18th. They had 4 players who had career years last season who didn't this season. I guess that's the quickest way to put it. Goals against, Edmonton is 21st in the league. Yeah, they can be scored on. And Chicago's 17th. So, hey, they're better in one category so far. Now, face-off win percentage. Edmonton's 23rd in the league. Chicago's 17th. And then a couple of keynotes here. 20 goal scorers. Edmonton's got 3 of them. And then they have 1 player with 19. And I want to say that's James Neal. The Blackhawks have 3 players with 20-plus goals. They also have 2 players with 18 goals. 50 points plus. Edmonton's got 3 players, and Chicago's got only 2. Now, some more interesting little facts here, starting with Edmonton. Draisaitl McDavid also finished 1-2 in NHL scoring. Draisaitl leads all forwards in the NHL in total ice time. Maybe you didn't know that. He also happens to play on the first power play and the second penalty kill, so that ups his minutes. Now, the next 2 forwards that play the most in the league, second is Eichel, 3rd. Can you guess it? That's right, McJesus. Now, Draisaitl is 2nd in the NHL in power play goals with 16, and he's also tied for 1st with game-winning goals with 10. Now, on the Chicago side of things, these stats, facts, notes, insights aren't as sparkly. Yeah, they allow the most shots against of any team in the NHL during the regular season with just over 35. Yeah. Now, as I mentioned earlier, DeHaan will be back, so that's a plus. And then there's Andrew Shaw, who could be quite helpful in the playoffs. Right now he's out with a concussion. His return is questionable. That would really help with especially when it comes to the shadowing McDavid and Draisaitl department. Toews can't do it all. Now, Let's get into some category stats by position, starting with the goaltenders. And let's begin with Mikko Koskinen of the Edmonton Oilers. Now, he's 31 years old. He'll be 32 in July. 6'7", 202 pounds. Giant. In 38 games, he had a .917 save percentage. He quietly put up some good numbers this year. Remember, in his first season in the NHL last year, he was only a .906. Yep. Then his fresh new backup this season, Mike Smith, just coming off the Calgary bench there. He's 38 years old, just had a birthday in March, 6'5", 220 pounds. This has got to be the tallest and heaviest goaltending tandem in the league. Now, he played 39 games and had a .902 save percentage. It was better than last season with Calgary. He had an .898. So... And don't forget, he was amazing in the playoffs. More on that a little bit later. Now, the Blackhawks, starting with Corey Crawford. He's the 35-year-old, will be 36 in December. He's 6'2", 216 pounds. And in 40 games, had a .917 save percentage. A real bounce back from last season where he had a .908, which is kind of like league average, right? Also, there's a bunch of concussion history there with him as well. Now, Corey Crawford, I kind of have to digress here. Corey Crawford has played 86 playoff games in his career, which span over 7 seasons and average out to be a .914 save percentage. Now, Koskinen has no playoff experience whatsoever. Mike Smith, on the other hand, has some but doesn't have much. He's only played 24 playoff games over 3 seasons, and over 3 seasons. Over 3 seasons in the 12 seasons that he's played in the NHL. Sorry, I just lost myself there for a second. And his average is a .940 save percentage. It's amazing. But again, it was only three different playoff experiences. Appearances. That's the word. What's happening? Okay. Lastly, I want to talk about Chicago's Blackhawks. Malcolm Subban, their backup, who now he's 26 years old. Will be 27 in December. 6'2", 215 pounds. Didn't really play a game for the Blackhawks. I think he appeared for like 2 minutes or something. Now, he did play 20 for the Vegas Golden Knights before he was traded. Had an .890 save percentage. Last year with them, he had a .902 save percentage. And his best year ever in the NHL was a .910 in Las Vegas's first year inaugural season. So there's that. I doubt he'll be seeing any playoff time. Chicago will breathe fire on anyone who comes within an inch of Corey Crawford's head. Moving on, let's talk about the defense. Now, starting with goals, Edmonton's defense has 22 goals. Chicago's has 28. Asterisks here because Gustafsson, who's Chicago's leading goal scorer on defense with 6, is now a Calgary Flame. Yeah, so that means they're kind of even, aren't they? Now, for Edmonton, Klefbom, Nurse, and Bear actually are all tied for the lead in goals amongst D with 5 each. And besides Gustafsson, there's Murphy, defenseman Murphy, who had 5 goals for them. Now, point-wise, the Oilers have 123 from their defense, and Chicago has 127. Klefbom led the way for the Oilers with 34 of those points. Keith leads the way for Chicago with 27. Ouch. That's your leading defensive scorer. 27 points. Wow. Now, moving on here, let's talk about the forwards. Starting with goals again. Edmonton's got 201. Chicago, 180. Draisaitl leads the Oilers, of course, with 43 goals. And for the Blackhawks, it is Patrick Kane with 33. Point-wise, Edmonton's got 479 points from their forwards. Chicago's got 431, but a 40 or so point difference. Draisaitl's got 110, leads the league, and Kane has 84. Now, when it comes to the best plus-minus on each team, Yamamoto is a plus 17 for the Oilers. Mind you, he only played 27 games. Interesting fact here, the next best plus minus on the Oilers is on forwards anyways. Is Nugent Hopkins at a plus 1. That's the second best. Wow. Yeah. James Neal is a minus 20. He plays the fourth line a lot. Now, although he's on that, is it the first or second power play? I think it's the first. Now for Chicago, their best plus minus player is DeHaan, who is a plus 10. That's why it's important that he's coming back on D. Kane is the best on defense, best on offense with a plus 8. And David Kampf is the worst on the team with a minus 11. Now, when it comes to who has the edge between each of these positions, starting with goaltending, I think you got to give it to Chicago here. Crawford's just got a ton more experience on his side, and he's going into the playoffs with good numbers as well, even though it mirrors Koskinen's, who has no playoff experience. And Smith, I don't know. Well, who's going to show up? Is he going to even play? Now, defense-wise, I kind of give this an even mark here. I didn't give the advantage to either team. DeHaan's coming back, so even though they lost a little offense with Gustafsson, there's that. Forward-wise, you have to give that to the Oilers. It's black and white all in the point system there. Specialty teams, of course, that's the Oilers' edge as well. Coaching-wise, you also have to give that to Edmonton. And we'll touch on that more in a second. Let's talk about keys to the series here, beginning with the Oilers. Starting with, is there going to be any Mike Smith magic? Is he going to play like he did in last year's playoffs for Calgary? Is he even going to start? I don't know. Then there's the coaching advantage. How much of there is there going to be? Now, Dave Tippett's win percentage over 8 different playoff seasons was only a .360. But the last time that he was in the playoffs, which is way back in 2011 and 12, he was 9-7 with a .563. The Edmonton also needs to pay closer attention to their defense, especially from their forward side when it comes to back checking. And then they also, in the same breath, have to be aggressive when they're moving the puck and hope that helps draw some penalties so the best special teams in the league can take advantage. And lastly here, never, ever take your eyes off Patrick Kane. He'll make something out of nothing. Blackhawk fans will tell you that. Speaking of which, let's talk about Chicago's key to the series, starting with play disciplined. Don't take penalties. Play a tight game. Jump on Edmonton's mistakes, because they do make lots of them. Now, the loss of Gustafsson, as I said, sucks for the offense, but for the defense, at least they get DeHaan back. The kids, they need to score. I'm talking about DeBrincat, Strome, Nylander, Duck, and even Boqvist on defense. It can't be all done by Toews, Sad, and Kane. Kubalik cannot disappear in the playoffs. He had 30 goals and 46 points in 68 games. This guy who came out of nowhere from international play has done wonders with this team, and he actually has some good numbers in playoffs international-wise as well, so there's nothing to indicate that he might disappear, but still, it's the North American game. Things tighten up in the playoffs substantially. Then there's the Toews and Kane effect. They need to show their experience over almost that entire Oilers team, really. Kind of show some of that magic from last season. And lastly here, they need to frustrate McDavid and just Draisaitl, and they got to super glue somebody to those two players. And it can't just be Kane. I would think, again, if Shaw came back, that might be part of his duties as well. There you have it. That's it. That's all. I'd love to hear what you think of this series, especially Chicago and Edmonton fans, down in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And hey, in this bizarro land we're living in right now, be kind to each other, please. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.